Imagine a machine so perfectly designed that people sit in front of it for hours, sometimes days, not to win money, but to disappear. Not to feel excitement, but calm. Not to chase jackpots, but to stay inside a psychological bubble where nothing else matters. Not time, not money, not even the self. This book is not about weak willpower. It's not about reckless gamblers. It's about design, intentional, calculated, data-driven design, and how machines, environments, and business models quietly reshape human behavior. In Addiction by Design, anthropologist Natasha Schull takes us inside Las Vegas casinos to reveal how modern gambling machines are engineered to capture attention, regulate emotion, and keep players locked in what gamblers themselves call the zone. This is the story of how addiction can be built, one button press at a time. Mapping the Machine Zone. Schull opens the book with a deeply human story. She introduces us to Molly, a Las Vegas local whose life revolved around video poker machines. Molly is not chasing wins. In fact, she knows the odds are against her. What she wants is something else entirely. Immersion. Molly describes entering a mental state she calls the Machine Zone. In this zone, the outside world fades away. Time collapses. Sounds blur. Responsibilities disappear. The machine becomes the only point of focus. This zone is not chaos. It is stability. It offers predictability in a world that feels overwhelming, uncertain, and emotionally demanding. Schull makes a critical observation early on. Modern machine gamblers are not motivated by greed or thrill-seeking in the traditional sense. They are seeking emotional regulation, relief from anxiety, stress, loneliness, and instability. The introduction also places machine gambling within a broader social and economic shift. Slot machines have moved from the margins of casinos to their very center. They now generate the majority of casino profits, surpassing table games like blackjack and roulette. What changed was not just gambling culture, but technology. The rest of the book sets out to answer a powerful question. How do machines, environments, and corporate strategies combine to produce compulsive behavior without ever forcing anyone to play? Part 1. Design. Chapter 1. Interior Design for Interior States. Casinos are not neutral spaces built simply to house games. Natasha Schull shows that they are carefully engineered psychological environments, designed to shape how people feel, think, and behave once they step inside. Every architectural and sensory detail is chosen with one primary goal in mind: to keep players playing. One of the most striking features of casino design is the deliberate removal of temporal cues. Clocks are absent. Windows are rare or non-existent. Natural light is blocked out. Without these markers, players lose track of time, slipping into extended sessions without realizing how long they have been seated at a machine. Meals are delayed, sleep is postponed, and everyday routines quietly dissolve. Spatial design reinforces this effect. Casino floors are laid out as winding paths rather than straight lines, making exits difficult to locate and encouraging continuous movement past rows of machines. Slot machines are arranged in curved clusters that reduce awareness of other players and the broader environment. Instead of feeling like part of a crowded room, gamblers experience a sense of private immersion, even while surrounded by others. Sound plays an equally important role. The casino is filled with a constant background hum, machines spinning, buttons clicking, digital melodies looping endlessly. This sonic environment creates a steady rhythm that supports prolonged concentration. Occasional celebratory sound from nearby winds punctuate the atmosphere, suggesting success is always just one spin away, even when losses dominate. Comfort is another crucial design principle. Chairs are padded and ergonomically shaped for long periods of sitting. Screens are positioned at eye level, drawing attention inward. Temperature is carefully regulated so that players feel neither too warm nor too cold, minimizing physical discomfort that might prompt them to leave. Schull emphasizes that casinos are not designed to overstimulate players. Instead, they aim to stabilize emotional states. The goal is not excitement in bursts, but sustained calm, a psychological equilibrium that makes continued play feel natural and even necessary. In this way, the casino becomes less a place of entertainment and more a controlled emotional environment. Chapter 2. Engineering Experience. Modern gambling machines are not simple games of luck. Schull reveals that they are sophisticated technological systems created by large interdisciplinary teams that include software engineers, mathematicians, psychologists, graphic designers, and marketing specialists. Each machine is the product of extensive research into human behavior. Central to this process is the idea of player-centric design. Instead of optimizing machines for maximum payouts or dramatic wins, designers focus on maximizing time on device, the amount of time a player remains engaged with a machine. Profit does not depend on players winning big, but on them staying seated and continuously betting. To achieve this, machines are engineered to maintain a steady emotional rhythm. Wins are intentionally frequent, but small, offering just enough reinforcement to sustain interest without significantly reducing the player's balance. Losses are softened through visual and auditory effects that make them feel less final or painful. Near misses play a critical role in this design. When symbols almost line up for a win, players experience a surge of anticipation and motivation, even though the outcome is technically a loss. These moments create the feeling that success is close and attainable, encouraging continued play. Another key element is the illusion of control. Players are given choices: how many lines to bet on, how fast to play, how much to wager. But these choices do not affect the underlying odds. Outcomes are determined by algorithms, not by player skill. Nevertheless, the act of making decisions fosters a sense of involvement and agency. Schull shows that this combination of choice without control, reward without profit, and engagement without progress is what makes machine gambling uniquely absorbing. The machine becomes an emotional regulator, holding players in a narrow band between boredom and overstimulation. Chapter 3. Programming Chance. In this chapter, Schull dismantles common assumptions about randomness in gambling machines. While players often believe each spin is an independent event governed by chance, modern machines operate quite differently. At the heart of these devices is a random number generator that runs continuously, cycling through thousands of numbers every second. When a player presses the button, the machine simply stops the generator at that instant and displays the corresponding outcome. The result is already decided before the player perceives any action. What matters, then, is not chance itself, but how chance is presented. Designers carefully choreograph the visual and auditory experience of each spin. Losses may be accompanied by animations, sounds, or partial matches that resemble wins, blurring the psychological distinction between success and failure. Near misses are especially powerful. Research shows that these outcomes trigger stronger emotional reactions than ordinary losses, activating brain responses similar to those produced by actual wins. Machines are programmed to deliver near misses at a rate that sustains hope and engagement without increasing payouts. Bonus rounds and special features further complicate the experience. These interruptions create moments of heightened attention and excitement, even when they ultimately result in net losses. The player feels rewarded with stimulation rather than money. Schull argues that modern gambling machines do not simply rely on randomness. They carefully manage uncertainty. Unpredictability is structured, calibrated, and optimized to keep players emotionally invested over long periods of time. Part 2. Feedback. Chapter 4. Matching the market. As gambling technology evolves, so do the strategies used to retain players. Schull explains that casinos and manufacturers closely monitor player behavior to identify patterns of engagement, fatigue, and withdrawal. Machines are not static products. They are continuously modified and intensified in response to player data. When a particular game loses its appeal, new features are added: faster play, brighter graphics, more complex bonus structures to restore engagement. This process mirrors the logic of habituation seen in addiction. What once felt stimulating becomes normal, requiring increased input to produce the same emotional effect. players adapt to machines, and machines adapt right back. Different demographics are targeted with tailored designs. Some games emphasize simplicity and repetition, while others focus on complexity and narrative themes. Regardless of the surface differences, the underlying goal remains the same: sustained play. Schull highlights how this adaptive process gradually intensifies the gambling experience. Without realizing it, players are drawn into faster, denser cycles of betting that demand greater attention and emotional investment. Chapter 5: Live Data. Modern casinos are data-driven environments. Every interaction a player has with a machine can be recorded, stored, and analyzed. Player tracking systems, often accessed through loyalty cards, monitor betting patterns, session length, spending habits, and machine preferences. While these systems are marketed as reward programs offering free meals or hotel rooms, their primary function is surveillance. This data allows casinos to identify high-value players and intervene strategically. Personalized offers, free credits, and targeted promotions are deployed to draw players back or keep them playing longer. From the player's perspective, this feels like recognition and appreciation. The casino seems attentive and generous. In reality, these gestures are calculated investments designed to increase overall spending. Schull emphasizes that live data closes the feedback loop between player behavior and machine design. Gambling becomes a dynamic system in which human actions continuously inform technological responses. By the end of this chapter, it becomes clear that modern machine gambling is not a passive activity. It is an ongoing interaction between players and systems that learn, adapt, and optimize in real time, always in the service of extended engagement. Chapter 6: Perfect Contingency, From Control to Compulsion. In this chapter, Natasha Schull explains how modern gambling machines are designed to eliminate friction, the pauses, interruptions, and moments of reflection that might otherwise break a player's flow. The ultimate objective is what industry insiders describe as perfect contingency, an environment where every action produces an immediate and seamless response. Earlier forms of gambling contained natural stopping points. Coins had to be inserted by hand, dealers shuffled cards, players waited for races to finish or wheels to stop spinning. These gaps created moments where doubt, fatigue, or self-awareness could surface. Modern machine gambling systematically removes these pauses. Cashless payment systems allow players to move effortlessly from money to credit with the press of a button. Tickets, cards, and digital balances abstract money into numbers on a screen, dulling the emotional impact of loss. Spending no longer feels like spending. It feels like continuation. The speed of play is equally important. Games unfold in rapid, rhythmic cycles, often every few seconds. The machine responds instantly to player input, creating a tight feedback loop between action and outcome. This rhythm pulls players forward, discouraging reflection and making stopping feel unnatural. Schull emphasizes that compulsion does not arise from confusion or ignorance. Players often understand exactly what is happening. What changes is their relationship to control. Instead of choosing whether to continue, they feel compelled to maintain the flow. The system removes stopping cues, transforming deliberate play into automatic repetition. In this perfectly contingent environment, the machine does not overpower the player. It aligns with them. The result is a form of engagement where control gradually gives way to compulsion, not through force, but through design. Part 3: Addiction. Chapter 7: Gambled Away, Liquidating Life. Schull now turns to the lived consequences of prolonged machine gambling. In this chapter, gamblers describe how their involvement with machines steadily consumes financial, social, and emotional resources. Money is often the first casualty. Savings accounts, retirement funds, and credit lines are gradually drained, not in dramatic bursts, but through steady, repeated losses. What makes this process especially devastating is that it often occurs alongside full awareness. Players know they are losing, yet continue. Relationships suffer next. Family members and friends struggle to understand why someone would continue gambling despite mounting losses. Trust erodes as debts are hidden, lies accumulate, and emotional availability declines. What emerges clearly from gamblers' testimonies is that the goal is not financial gain. Many explicitly state that winning disrupts the experience rather than fulfilling it. Wins are frequently fed back into machines, not celebrated or withdrawn. Schull reframes addiction here as a form of emotional management. The machine offers relief from anxiety, depression, grief, and instability. Over time, this relief becomes indispensable. Life outside the casino begins to feel chaotic and demanding by comparison. To continue accessing the zone, gamblers liquidate parts of their lives, money, relationships, routines, trading long-term stability for short-term emotional equilibrium. Chapter 8, Overdrive, Chasing Loss, Playing to Extinction. This chapter explores one of the most counterintuitive aspects of machine gambling. Losses do not deter play. They intensify it. Traditional economic logic suggests that people stop when losses accumulate. Machine gamblers often do the opposite. As losses mount, they increase speed, bet size, or session length. Schull explains that this behavior is not driven by desperation to recover money. Instead, players are attempting to restore a disrupted internal state. Loss creates emotional imbalance, frustration, agitation, anxiety, which players attempt to neutralize by continuing to play. The machine excels at supporting this response. Faster cycles, continuous feedback, and near-miss events keep players engaged even as their balance declines. The goal becomes persistence rather than recovery. Gamblers describe playing until exhaustion, numbness, or financial collapse, what some call playing to extinction. At this point, the machine has succeeded in keeping the player engaged beyond rational limits. Schull underscores that this is not irrational behavior in a psychological sense. Within the logic of the machine zone, continued play is the only available solution to discomfort. The design ensures that stopping feels worse than continuing. Part 4, Adjustment. Chapter 9, Balancing Acts, the Double Bind of Therapeutics. In this chapter, Schull examines how therapeutic and responsible gambling interventions attempt to address machine addiction, and why they often fall short. Most treatment models frame gambling addiction as an individual pathology. The gambler is encouraged to develop self-control, recognize triggers, and make better choices. While these approaches can be helpful, they rarely address the environment that sustains addictive behavior. Casinos, meanwhile, promote responsible gambling initiatives such as warning messages, self-exclusion programs, and informational brochures. These measures acknowledge harm without challenging the systems that generate it. This creates a double bind. Gamblers are told they are responsible for controlling their behavior, even as they interact with technologies specifically designed to undermine control. When they fail, the blame rests squarely on the individual. Schull highlights the emotional burden this places on gamblers. Shame and self-blame intensify, making the machine zone even more attractive as a place of escape. The chapter reveals a central contradiction. Therapeutic and corporate responses coexist with business models that depend on excessive play. Chapter 10, Fix Upon Fix, Recipes for Regulating Risk. The final chapter focuses on regulation. Governments and oversight bodies introduce policies intended to reduce harm. Bet limits, warning labels, mandatory breaks, and educational campaigns. Schull shows that these measures often target surface behaviors rather than underlying design principles. Machines are modified slightly, but their core logic remains intact. Moreover, the gambling industry frequently adapts faster than regulators. New technologies and features emerge that comply with the letter of regulations while preserving their addictive potential. Responsibility is dispersed across multiple actors: players, therapists, regulators, while the central role of design is rarely confronted directly. Schull argues that meaningful regulation would require acknowledging how technologies shape behavior. Without addressing machine speed, feedback loops, and emotional regulation, reforms remain cosmetic. By the end of this chapter, the reader is left with a stark realization. Addiction persists not because fixes are absent, but because they are designed to coexist with the very systems they claim to correct. Schull closes with a powerful reminder. Addiction is not just a failure of will. It is often the outcome of environments designed to capture attention and regulate emotion. Machine gambling is not an anomaly. It is a preview. From smartphones to social media to endless scroll platforms, the same principles now shape everyday technology. The real question is not why people lose control, but who benefits when they do. And once you see the machine zone, you start seeing it everywhere.